What's up, comic book fans? And welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ, what they call me. And today, we got more Blood Hunt. This time with Dracula Blood Hunt, issue number 3, the finale of this series. And if you guys missed the last issue, or any other parts of this series, then I'll put a card at the top of the screen and a link at the end of the video to the playlist. But when we last left off with this series, Brielle met and fought alongside of Daredevil, who would end up giving her some advice on the whole situation with her having to stop her dad. But as expected, this has been an impossible decision for her. And before the issue ended, Brielle tried to reach out to her mom, just like at the end of issue 1. And once again, she ended up having to leave her a voicemail. But while she was leaving that message, she came face to face with the person that she'd been reluctant to see and deal with. Her dad, Blade, now fully possessed, causing Brielle, aka Bloodline, to drop her phone as he put her into a trance, and then ended the issue towering over her unconscious body. So if you guys are ready for the conclusion to this Dracula tie-in to the main Blood Hunt event, and if you guys are ready to see if Brielle is able to do what's necessary, then you guys know what time it is. Let's get it. So when this issue kicks off, Brielle, of course, is still laid out on the ground unconscious. And as her father Blade, now possessed by Varney, look over her, Dracula, however, knows that Varney is behind this and calls him out and reminds him that in this incorporeal form that Varney is using, he won't be able to harm Brielle. But Varney assures Dracula that harming her is not what he intends. What he plans to do is to turn her against Dracula and have her join his side so they may rule together. And as this Varney form dissipates, Dracula is left to fight a horde of Varney's vampires while Brielle's body lay defenseless. Meanwhile, as Brielle's body lay unconscious, her inner self wakes up, so to speak, or her spiritual self, or whatever you want to call it, wakes up on the other side. And she even thinks to herself that whatever this is, it's the opposite of waking up. But she notices the world around her warping like a rippling pool, and the only steady thing is her. But this world feels like her home in Atlanta. She mentions that the air even smells like Atlanta. And as she's able to make out her school through the ripples, she decides to walk towards it. Or more like she thinks herself there, and then she's there, like a dream world under her command. And she even notices that the towers and battlements of the school tell her that this is hers, although she knows her actual school doesn't have towers and battlements. And I ain't gonna lie to you, how many high school kids know what towers and battlements even are? Shout out to the writers. But as she walks through the school, even the bell rings with the word mine over and over. Nothing in this world makes any sense, she thinks, although she instinctively knows which way to go, to which the school whispers to her that it's because this place is mine. And it's when she opens the door to a particular classroom, she actually starts to believe that this is hers, as she sees her dad, Blade, and a wave of relief begins to wash over her. But when she runs up to give him a hug, he vanishes and then reappears behind her. So she knows that he's not really her dad, and she goes for her sword, and that's when she realizes that she has no weapons in this place. As Blade then tells her that she has no need for weapons in this place, only the violence that he has passed on to her in her blood. And mention of this begins to make Brielle start to change, as she thinks that she can feel her mind go red, and the bloodlust begins to be impossible to resist. And now all that's left is her thirst for blood and her father's approval. Then the shadows in the classroom begin to take shape and form into her friends from back home, as her father tells her that this is her inheritance. She's meant to be a predator and the world her prey. And now with her hunger now fully in control, she no longer sees them as her friends, only food. And then we pick back up with Dracula as he wipes out the vampire horde while Brielle's body still lay immobilized. And we all know that this vampire horde is still no match for Dracula, who mentions it himself. And then he even taunts Varney for this pathetic attack that's accomplished nothing but insult Dracula. But then all the body parts of the horde begin to come together to form one stupid large blood monster, which Dracula finds as a possible worthy adversary finally. And then we pick back up with Brielle in the spirit realm or dream realm or whatever we're calling it, while she lashes out at her friends as she thinks that her body reacts before her mind can even pump the brakes. Meanwhile, Blade tells her that he heard the phone call with her mother at the end of the last issue before she had dropped her phone, and he heard her telling her that she's no hero, which he agrees with, as heroics are not in her bloodline. But as she is finally able to resist the urge to feed on her friends, Blade tells her that these attempts to deny her true power will continue to fail and torment her. But then he tells her that she could save her friends and make them into something greater, and that those she cares about can survive and thrive if they join him. But it could only happen if she stands at his side in their kingdom. Meanwhile, back in the real world, Dracula is still fighting against the blood monster, 3 of them actually, and he acknowledges that they seem to move with a single-mindedness. And the magic holding them together makes fighting them like slicing through a river of blood. But just like the creatures have transformed into this beast, Dracula's anger has transformed him as well, and he's no longer insulted by the lack of adversaries, but now enraged at the continued assault to his domain. And after a fitting battle, Dracula is victorious against these monsters. He knows that the full pretender to his throne is watching, he thinks to himself. But as long as he's able to protect Brielle, then he knows they'll win. Although right now he thinks that the only true hurdle lies with Brielle and whether or not she's as stubborn as her father, just as he also begins to notice her phone ringing right next to her body. Brielle, meanwhile, is now being given a choice by the artist formerly known as Blade, to side with the enemy Dracula and all you know and love dies, or stop playing hero and save your friends by joining my side. But Brielle knows that what he wants wouldn't be saving her friends, as she recalls Daredevil's words, and if she did this to her friends, they'd hate her too much for her to be okay with just letting it happen. She can't just stand around and watch as her friends became evil just because she was too scared to fight. So she rejects his requests and tells him that she loves him too much to just stand beside him. But then he begins to get angry at her rejection, and then changes into a more monstrous form, causing Brielle to freak for a second and feel like she's in over her head. And even her friends now attack her. But she then hears the familiar sound of her phone buzzing through the school bells as the world around her begins to crumble and she begins to run. But she's not running away. She's running towards it as the buzzing stops, and is then followed by the voice of Brielle's mom telling her that she doesn't need for Brielle to be an Avenger or like her father, but she does need her to wake up. Whether she needs to stay in New York and fight or run all the way back home, it doesn't matter just as long as she wakes up and chooses. But she trusts whatever decision Brielle decides to make, and she loves her and she's proud of her. And as the world falls away and her mom asks only to hear the sound of Brielle's voice, Brielle finally awakens. Her refusing to join Varney destroyed the fake world he built for her, but her mother's voice showed her the path out. Her mom's words cut through Dracula's demands and Varney's lies told through her father's mouth. She had worried so much about what she can't do that she'd forgotten what she can do. And now that she's awake, she finally gets to have a talk with her mom. She'd been getting the voicemail since issue 1, and finally, they get to speak. And they of course both tear up as they talk, and her mom basically tells her that she trusts Brielle. And although she's terrified for her, she'll find the strength as long as Brielle does what feels right to her. And as Brielle finishes her call, Dracula reaches out his hand to her, presuming that she's finally made her decision. But Brielle pulls away and gets up on her own. She's not going to let Dracula boss her around. But she also acknowledges that that's no longer her father, but that was her mother on the phone, which makes this easier. Then she offers to thank Dracula if she thought he'd care about it, but he responds that her family hasn't really been known for their manners. Then she tells him that her family is her responsibility. So let's go save my dad from himself. And as they head into the finale of the Blood Hunt series and event, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the issue and this Dracula Blood Hunt series. So what did you guys think about the issue and the series as a whole? How weird is it seeing Blade as the villain and Dracula as the hero? Something about that just don't feel right. But how do you feel about the Brielle spotlight in this Dracula series? It was his series, but he was pretty much the supporting role in it. I guess because a series named after Brielle or Bloodline wouldn't quite sell just yet. But you guys know I want to hear everything you guys are thinking about how all this went down and how you're liking this Blood Hunt as a whole so far. And as always, if you guys enjoyed this video and this channel and you'd like to support the channel, then you can do so by stopping by the Comics Icons store and picking you up some Comics Icons merchandise, including the background music heard right here in this video available for download. Or by joining the Iconic Fan Club channel membership, and there'll be a link in the description to join. But with your membership, your voice will be heard during our interactive live streams with yours truly, where we could talk about everything that's been going down in these issues, as well as ones that you'd like for me to go over in the future and other comic news. Plus, you guys will get loyalty badges, member shoutouts, and up to 20% off of Comics Icons merchandise from the Comics Icons store. Plus, we've got tiers to the memberships as well, beginning at just 99 cents. Or you guys can donate to the channel with a super thanks. And if you're not able to do either of those, then you can still be a tremendous help to the future of this channel by dropping a like, share, and subscribing to Comics Icons for more icons in the comic book world. But ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time. I'm out.